Hello, World of Tank Blitzers, and hopefully a few future Momrads. Hey, I'm Littlefinger, and today I'm doing a full tank review on the AT2, which is a British Tier 5 tank destroyer. You can see it here in our Christmas garage. The tank has some amazing armor. It has a decent gun in the sense that it is very fast firing, good penetration, but very low alpha. The problem with this tank is it is extremely slow, and doing well in this tank, in my opinion, is very team dependent. You can get left behind and some medium or light comes up and they can pretty much just stay behind you, and there's not a lot you can do. So it makes the tank a little bit frustrating, but in some games you are the last person standing because of your armor, and you can get some big damage numbers. Let's take a quick look at the tech tree. We are up here in the top left, AT2. Several more ATs as you work your way up to the Tortoise, and then finally the Death Star, the FE215B 183. Characteristics for the AT, again, very slow, fast firing guns that don't do a lot of damage, but it's a long grind up. As you can see, I'm still only on tier 8, so I've still got a ways to go, but obviously everyone fears that 183, so hopefully the grind will be worth it. Looking at let's go look at the characteristics real quick. Hit points here 670, and the hull armor, like I said, 203 millimeters. That's getting up there to tier 8s, 9s, and 10s level. That's some really good armor. Weight 41 tons, a speed limit only 20 kilometers per hour, and a traverse speed of 27.8. This tank has some horrible terrain resistance numbers, which makes our effective horsepower to ton ratio just abysmal, and that's kind of the reason I'm not a big fan of driving this tank. You can see here with our 6-pounder gun, 19 rounds per minute, average pen 110, but we're only doing 90 damage. Aim time's nothing great, but you're not moving very fast, so I don't have to worry about dispersion too much with this tank. Let's look. Obviously running camouflage, running the heroic warrior here, which was a Clan Wars giveaway. Hopefully you guys are participating in this current Clan Wars. Consumable repair kit, multi-purpose, and adrenaline. Provisions, running improved fuel, protective kit, and pudding and tea. That's going to get our traverse speed up just a little bit faster. Ammunition, 55 rounds of AP, 21 APCR, and 20 heat. Don't forget you can change that with the shell price to credits from gold. Equipment. So again, tier 5. Do not recommend spending any spare parts on this tank or most tier 5 tanks, save for maybe the KV1. But anyway, I am running the gun rammer, which is getting our rate of fire up another 1.34 there. I could see a good argument for running calibrated shells here, get that penetration up to 115, 189. But I didn't have too much problems with the pen numbers, so I went with the faster rate of fire. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you can permatrack a tank and just keep shooting him in the tracks, and he can't get away from you because you have such a high rate of fire. Under vitality, not too worried about anybody ramming you in this tank, so I am running defense system. And again, with this latest update, improved optics is only going to give us 5% to the view range, which takes us up to 240. Is not great, and we're going to be on the back of the map anyway. So camouflage net there is now 7% for TDs, and that is 14% if you're stationary for 3 seconds. So camouflage net now is much more important on TDs. Not even going to talk about tier 2 and tier 3. Don't waste your spare parts on this tank. So here's the AT2 and Armor Inspector, and you can see I've got a Tier 6 SU-100, one of the bigger guns in Tier 6, not even Tier 5, pulled up here, and we are flat head-on with the SU, and you can see basically the only spot that is penetrable is that commander's hatch up top. I do want you to keep in mind that if you are below and that SU shooting down on you, then that front area does become penetrable. So you want to try to stay on a slope, slight incline, use that -7 degrees, and you will eliminate that potential spot. Obviously, you've got to get here to about 36-37% turned before you really start to see some consistent pen numbers. Obviously, from the sides and the back, it is much easier. So keep that in mind when you're playing this tank. I like to stick around hard objects, so it's not as easy for someone to circle of death. You can brush them off with a hard object and they can't continue to go around the back of you. But that just takes experience and practice in gameplay. Alright guys, here is blitzstars.com using their free tank compare section. Got the AT2 pulled up on the left, and the rest of the non-premium Tier 5 TDs, with the exception of the M10 Wolverine. I didn't add that one. So you can see, just run through this real quick, our damage per minute is just about worst in class. Penetration numbers is by far the worst in class, as is our alpha damage of only 90. But to make up for that, to get our DPM up, obviously we have to have a very high rate of fire and a very quick reload time. Moving on, you can see here as far as aim time, 1.54 is best in class. And surprisingly, we've got a rather high dispersion of 0.335, which is hard to understand why with a tank that moves so slow, and our dispersion on movement is also pretty bad at 0.22. Our gun depression there is -7, +13, and you can aim 13 degrees left and right without having to move the tank. Movement and mobility, 20 kilometers per hour, and you saw we can get that up to about 27 max with all the extra equipment and boosters. Engine power is 435 horsepower, but our total weight is 40 tons. And the thing that really hinders this tank is you look at terrain resistance there of 1.4. I wish Wargaming would just bring this down maybe to 1.2 or something like that. But it is getting penalized, obviously, for its size. Credit coefficient there is pretty good. View range is just about worst in class. We do have a relatively high hit point at 670. That coupled with the armor does make it an effective tank. And you can see here when we look at the hull armor 203, compare those to some of those other numbers of 80, 45, 20. So you can see why this is a tough tank to kill. Typically in battles, you will see it as one of the last tanks still alive. Does have a pretty good win rate there of almost 60%. Average damage of 767. Average kills is right at 1. Obviously not very high on spots. Typically, I think a lot of people just drive this tank to the front and try to push with it. Whereas some of the other TDs, they keep them at the back and then just kind of snipe. So anyway, that's a quick rundown of blitzstars.com tank compare. So the first game I'm going to show is on Rockfield as top tier, and this was probably the best game that I had in this tank. Now keep in mind here that this is sped up 2 times. I know it looks like normal speed, but We are going a whopping 20 kilometers per hour. Thankfully, what happens a lot of times in this tank is your team just leaves you in the dust to fend for yourself. They've either done a good job taking out the reds before you even get there, or you get circled from behind. So one of the things I like to try to do with this tank is stay to the outside of maps. That way you are not as susceptible to getting circled. And you can see here that they have gone to the opposite side of the map, and this tank has a very fast reload. And we are just looking for some of these tanks to present themselves. You know, we do have a little bit of trouble penetrating the KVs there. But we are just staying patient at this point because we've got quite a lot of shots available to us. Just going to move up a little bit to see if we can't get around the corner there to some of those tanks on the left. And just note we've got a guy sitting in cap. We're at 23, 25. So there's no point me rushing into the middle of the map at this point in time. They're going to have to come down and defend the base. So I'm in a very good position here to help protect base. Team started to fall apart a little bit there. We are down a couple tanks. But one of those KVs is a one shot. The other one is pretty low on health. Trying to aim for the tanks with the lowest amount of health, obviously, to get them out of the game. Churchill's coming back around. I am spotted now, but no one's focusing on me. Looks like they are going to the cap circle. I've got this. Wolverine should be able to finish him off. He bounces and we get the kill there. So here they've come. They had to come down to clear cap. And I am in a good position shooting down onto the Matilda here. There's the T-14, and one of the things with keeping your distance from other tanks obviously makes it more difficult for them to get around you. Circle of death. T-14, it helps that we're shooting down. He's got some good armor. You see both those shots bounce. Trying to keep that commander's hatch behind the rock, at least for Churchill there. And we finish off the T-14. Now this is kind of an interesting exchange here. Managed to angle and block that first shot. Obviously we don't have any problems penetrating. 4 hit points he takes. He started to shoot HE at me because he's just frustrated at this point in time. There's another shot blocked for 200. So he's going to back away. I've definitely got more hit points than him left, so we'll move on in. Slowly, that is. 20 kilometers per hour is pretty painful. Block another shot. Got to get up over this ridge here. There's another shot blocked. And I started to bounce a couple shots. I'm just going to switch over to APCR and finish this off. And I don't think he did more than 4 hit points of damage on me there. So, and that's, you know, 2,600 damage. Mastery badge, 31 shots landed. It was a good game in the tank, but it was obviously set up by being in the right spot in the map. So here's second game on Lost Temple as bottom tier. We got a lot of heavies, so I'm expecting everybody to go up to the temple. And again, trying to stick with my philosophy of staying on the outsides of the maps here, and until the game develops and you can get a better feel for where the enemy tanks are. So a lot of them have spotted up down in the river now, so I figure that's the direction they've headed. So we'll head on over to the cap circle and, you know, try to be more on the front line and use our armor. But as you can see from the way this game started here, it takes you a while to get into position to do damage, to get to tanks you can shoot. But once you are in a position, you know, the reload on this is just super fast. So two have come around us here. And, you know, just having a reload time of 3 seconds is pretty fun sometimes. Dropped adrenaline there. Was kind of a mistake. I thought he was going to stay out and I'd get another shot or two into him. But the M4 is going to come out here. Get a couple shots into him. Big gun from the KV-1S. Does some 300 damage to me. Not sure why he decides he's going to try to go to the other side. I was up against the wall and couldn't really turn left anymore. Get shot in the tracks. One of my pet peeves in the game is how much getting shot in the tracks really changes the direction of your tank. Even not even moving there, you could see how much it moved. So they've got 2 tanks left. And they were both the tanks that were sitting and sniping in the back. So we're just going to back up into cap here and make them come to us, really. So I'm just trying to stay moving in case I do get spotted and make it a little bit more difficult for them to hit the hatch. See, we blocked another shot with this and we finish off the 3485. M4E2's got some good armor, so we're going to switch over to APCR and just try to drop as many shots in as we can before the KV finishes him off. So we ended up with 3 kills, 1775 in damage. Good for level 1 and top of the charts there. 22 shots landed. Did have a few bounces. So here's a clip from a game on Middleburg during Supremacy game. Heavies have gone down low. I'm bottom tier. And so I'm just trying to push up to the front here, again, keeping with my mantra of staying on the outside of these maps if at all possible. You can see here we angle that and bounce it off the side. But the reason I wanted to pull this clip out in particular is right here. What we're going to do is we're going to angle off of this building. We're going to keep our commander's hatch. The one real weakness on this tank hidden behind this wall. It's going to be quite effective, and you'll see here this whole time we're here, we don't take any damage. And we're able to get quite a few shots in, nothing major, but obviously disrupting the attack that they were on. That KV-1S backed up, missed that shot as it goes low. But So you can see there that the effectiveness of angling and hiding that commander's hatch can make this just a really deadly tank. So I can continue to close in now that some of the guys on the outskirts of the map have been taken care of. See, we end up bouncing another shot from that Hellcat. He's lowest health, so I want to try to get him. And then here, what I'm trying to do is basically just not let this T14 buy me. So I'm going to angle up and I'm going to rush forward to keep him from getting behind me. Don't let him get me pinned. And just a couple little small tactical issues on playing this tank there. Alright, in this game on mines, I would say this is a fairly typical ending. So I'm going to go up to the left here and go up to the sniping spot. Obviously those AMX are already on the hill. But we're here now and ready to do some sniping. And of course that BDR gives us trouble this whole game. He's going to make a run for the hill. AMX comes around the corner there. Get a shot into him. And now this BDR has come around. We missed that first shot. Get a second shot into his tracks and do damage. Again, same spot, no damage. Track him again. And I'm thinking, you know, we're on a roll here. He's getting some shots coming in from the other side. That one does no damage. And I just want to finish him off and back up behind cover. And I keep getting shot. And that was kind of frustrating there. So change our vantage point a little bit and finally finish off that BDR. Now the Hellcat's gone and taken my spot, and he's really not angled properly, just showing the side of his tank. So I have to relocate. And we are down 2 tanks at this point in time. They've got control of the hill. Hellcat's not really doing anything, so we're kind of in a world of hurt. And they are going to close on in any minute now. And here comes the rush. And just like that, I'm the last tank alive. So, not much you can do. And that happens quite frequently in this tank. And you just get closed in on by 4 or 5 tanks and finish off just like that. Which is what part of my love-hate relationship with this tank. So we did 1,463 damage. We had a couple potatoes on this team. Hellcat got 1 shot in. So, you know, I guess that's the NA way. I don't know these days. 16 shots landed. So, last game here on Falls Creek. Bottom tier. Supremacy game. Gonna push into C. With the rest of these heavies. You can see how fast even that KV2 leaves us behind. So here we are back to regular speed. KV1S there is behind the bridge. Kuro has gone down with the T14 and is capping. Fairly accurate there on the KV1S, showing a little bit of that front plate, which we are going to hit a few times. T14 comes up. Bad mistake with a KV sitting there, right? KV-1S is pulled out a little bit too far. We'll switch over to APCR. That's not going to work. He's still angled a little bit too much. How we managed to get that one in for kill number 1. Heroes decided to make a run for it here and push up onto the hill with the KV, and we'll finish him off. T-37, the last one sitting on this side. I'm going to drop down into base cap C, start getting some more points, even though we have a 1 tank advantage at this point in time. And the other 3 of their tanks have pushed up on the other side. Now, this is one of those things with this tank. It is so slow and painful to drive. So we eventually make it to the top of the hill here, and now we've got some shots. We need to aim a little bit better, or else we're going to bounce them. I was trying to ram the Leo to keep him from getting beside us, but his maneuverability certainly got him around us pretty easily. Aiming for the tracks, but this gun does not track very well. Get a nice bounce there. Getting shot from all over. But we've got too many hit points, really, at this point to worry about it. T-37's kind of trapped. He can't go forward or backwards, so we'll finish him off for kill number 4. So hopefully you guys have learned a few things to help yourselves be a little bit better drivers in this tank. I am by no means an expert at it. It is not my play style, and I don't play it very often. But then again, if you want a more slow tank, then this is the tank for you. So anyway, guys, this year has been great. Thanks to all the subscribers. I wish you a happy new year, and let's hope that 2018 is even better for us all. And as always, guys, have fun out there. Get educated, not fingered. Littlefinger out.